Council of Elders Secretary and also a member of the Opinion Shapers. Mine is just stemming from what has been shared by other speakers. I realized he goes to negotiate for the price. And it dawns to me that it is at this negotiation that some power brokers or politically corrupt, which eventually trickles down to increasing the price of the commodity to the consumers, thus making the energy to be very expensive and deterrent. And where that negotiation is taking place, that is where the problem is, where we end up buying from these generators a lot, at a very high price, thus increasing the
mine. I want to start by thanking you for a very good presentation. I must appreciate how you present. It's given to the Cabinet Secretary. Surely, I'm wondering why the Cabinet Secretaries will be given 2 months on an issue which is looking to me as a secretary. We are talking about a person who is a secretary by virtue of our taxes. This is somebody we are paying, and we are paying him, and because bureaucracy starts when you give a long period, a window, to somebody on something that can be moved very quickly. It should be given a period of even the same day for answers to come out.
Of all energies, what is it like? How would it, this is a big challenge, how would it relate vehicles? What is it now? We are confused. Thank you.
Like the book called This is Betrayal in the City. Somebody called Jerry says that when the madness of an entire nation disturbs us, only the vice chairman of Opinion Shapers. Thanks.
If they can hear me, they are free to raise their hands. But for now, because we also want to be re-energized, it was very cold in the morning, I will go through these questions and assign the difficult ones. Start with the first question that was asking for clarification between the 30-70%, between the private sector and KenGen, right? So they here, and I can see a few whom we played with in the 1940s around. You recall that initially generation of electricity was being done by KPLC, right? Separated from into two, was divided into two to have KenGen and also have KPLC, now dealing with the network and the distribution. And then in 2006, there was a now. But what I'm trying to illustrate is we are moving away from state-owned utilities and providing an avenue for more private sector participation. So initially when KenGen started generating, for example, the IPPs to now generate electricity. So what I foresee in the future is the contribution of KenGen below 70%, should be 60-something%, and we expect that in future that percentage will continue going down. So just to say, the Kenyan power system is more contribution of KenGen continues to go down, if of course they are not the most competitive one. But of course we expect that also they will continue increasing their generation. And just to tell you, if they were here, maybe they will add me by individuals. It's possible for those ones who have studied. I know I'm in Kisumu. If I talk about Mexico, you'll know it's one person that controls the financial markets, right? I take note of your comment on the Kenya Rivers Commission. I don't think we are competent enough to comment on that, but what I will just say, and I know Kihara might add something, would be we have been encouraging the generation of electricity from western region using the rivers from the region to generate electricity. And I will use that to answer the question of 2 months. Why 2 months? This person is being paid by our taxes, he should approve emissions. So it's not, it's only that someone has to be held accountable at the end of the day, right? Parts. And one reason why I would say 60 days, of course I take on board your feedback, but from my argument I would say 60 days would be sufficient. From Nairobi, you may not be able to know that. You need to have time to go to the ground before you commit to be certain that this project that is being proposed should be able to try as much as possible to take the due diligence process to make sure that this power plant is approved in an area that is feasible. You need sufficient time for you to be able to make that decision. It's not, it's not, that's why in Kisii, they say they open the door twice. Do you know what it means, opening the door twice? It means they wake up twice. So they sleep, they have to do good due diligence. That's what the meaning. So I'm just using that to illustrate that at least we need to give sufficient time for the Cabinet Secretary to be able to guess the tariffs under the feed-in tariff mechanism will be fixed, right? But the PPA has more clauses beyond the tariffs, because the most investors outside say that Kenya is unstable. I don't know if it's unstable or they say it's unstable. Which is which? Is it stable or unstable? Stable, unstable. And say this hydropower plant will produce 20 megawatts. But then, can they know that the Gen Zs will start fighting the government 1 year after election? They say, we don't like electricity in this area, and they ban that. It will be secure, so you don't need a lot of support. And those many others will go beyond the tariffs. And as I've said, one of them is beyond the tariffs. It's a power purchase agreement, but also half-life. In other places, they will say it's BOO, build, own, operate. And then you remove your assets. So those be negotiated. So I feel maybe I have clarified, but then if it's... The last one, I think this I will, as I sit down, I will ask engineer action plan or something. I've actually forgotten after eating the money, but I remember for charging, and that is in Kisumu County's plan, and maybe they have already started implementing. But they cannot force people to buy. Is it true that the most learned are the poorest? Instead of buying a car, I buy an ex-Japan, right? The one we call new, right? That has been used for 7 years. So if you want to buy an electric car, 0 mileage, equivalent of mobility, for example, they use very expensive. So the battery is offered as a service. So such of the commission and also the prices of electricity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You know, when you authority, we have water regulatory authority on the side of water. And whoever for us, as we prepare such regulations, we also refer a point, I think, especially in Western Kenya. I want to reiterate what Engineer Bukachi has said, that having these projects in Western Kenya, it also supports sugar factories here that can do cogeneration, the bagasse that they produce from sugar process. But the point is, due to petrol, diesel, to vehicles that actually use electricity. And for a Kenya system like ours, it's a really good motorcycle. Then it means you are actually you're utilizing more and more of you as a person breathing the air now becomes more cleaner. So those are one of which is better between an EV, electric motorcycle, and a petrol one. He told me I operated both of petrol one. So I think the world is moving that way. Because I was talking about the cost, currently the cost is quite high. I think we'll stop there. Engineer, we can have some tea.